I ask you to do one thing: wake up, not simply to the sound of an alarm clock, not merely to the turning of another page on the calendar, but to the truth that life itself is a gift and that you stand even now in the midst of God's blessings. Too often, we walk through the day half asleep, believing we lack what we already possess. We search outside for joy when joy is a decision made within. We complain about the little irritations while ignoring the infinite treasures before our eyes. The breath in our lungs, the light of the sun, the love that flows silently from the source of all creation. To wake up is to recognize that everything around you is alive with meaning. It is to see that God is not waiting in some far off heaven to bless you. He is the blessing here, now, breathing through you as you. To wake up to the presence of God's blessings now is to recognize that what you are seeking has already been given, that what you long for is closer than your very breath. It is the call to stop wandering in thought about tomorrow or dwelling in memory about yesterday, and instead to open your eyes to the abundance that surrounds you in this present moment. Most people move through life with eyes half closed, unaware of the richness available to them, because they are waiting for conditions to improve, waiting for some grand event to prove that they are blessed. Yet the truth is that God's blessings are never delayed, never postponed, never withheld. They are here, now, waiting only for your recognition. Look around you and consider how many things you take for granted. The simple act of drawing breath, the steady beating of your heart, the ability to think, to feel, to move, these are not small matters. They are evidence of life flowing through you, evidence that you are supported by something greater than yourself. If you would only pause and acknowledge them, you would begin to feel a shift in your awareness, a stirring of gratitude rising within. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the recognition of blessings, for what you appreciate expands. The moment you decide to call something a blessing, it becomes luminous, it shines, it grows in significance. The tragedy is not that people are lacking blessings, but that they are asleep to them. They spend their days scanning the horizon for something extraordinary, while ignoring the extraordinary in the ordinary. They expect blessings to arrive wrapped in brilliance, when in truth they often wear the disguise of the everyday. The warmth of the sun, the quiet of the morning, the smile of a stranger, the sound of laughter. These are not interruptions of life, they are life, and they are the continual evidence that God is pouring out good without measure. To wake up means to shift the focus of your attention. It means to stop rehearsing complaints and to start noticing abundance. It means to recognize that the state of your inner being determines whether you walk in lack or in fullness. When your eyes are fixed only on what appears missing, you become blind to what is already present. But when you open your eyes to what is present, you begin to see that nothing essential is missing at all. Life has been generous. Life has always been generous. The issue is not supply but perception. This moment is holy if you choose to see it as holy. This day is overflowing with possibility if you choose to call it so. God's blessings are not far off promises to be fulfilled in some distant season. They are here pressing in upon you, awaiting your acknowledgement. They are woven into the very fabric of your experience, waiting for you to name them. And in naming them, you awaken. Awakening is not a mystical event reserved for saints or sages. It is the simple decision to open your eyes and to call this moment good. It is to realize that every breath is a miracle, every step is a gift, every encounter is a chance to recognize the presence of the divine. To wake up is to become aware that you live in an ocean of blessings and that you have never been outside of it, not for a single moment. Joy is a decision, not a condition. This is a truth that few are willing to accept, because most have been trained to believe that joy must be earned, that it arrives only after circumstances shift, that it depends upon something external aligning with their desires. They tell themselves, I will be joyful when I have more money, when I find love, when my health improves, when the world is different. And so they live in a perpetual waiting room, postponing joy until life grants them permission. Yet joy is not a prize at the end of struggle. Joy is a state of being that you can enter the moment you decide to do so. Joy arises from within, and it is not tethered to events outside of you. Consider how two people can walk through the same day, encounter the same weather, face the same limitations, and yet one is burdened while the other radiates peace. The difference is not circumstance, but perception. One has decided that joy is possible now, while the other insists that joy must wait. Your perception, your decision, your inner decree determines whether you will taste the sweetness of life or only its bitterness. When you realize that joy is a decision, you reclaim power. You no longer live as a victim of circumstances tossed about by the winds of change. You become the one who determines the tone of your day. If you awaken in the morning and decide, "This day is good, and I will delight in it," then every small detail has the opportunity to confirm your decree. A simple meal becomes satisfying, a passing conversation becomes uplifting, the sight of the sky becomes wonder itself. But if you rise with the thought, "This day is empty, this day is lacking," then everything you encounter will echo your decision back to you. Joy is not something discovered, it is something declared. This does not mean that life will never present challenges, nor that sorrow will never knock at your door. But even in sorrow, even in challenge, the decision for joy can remain. For joy is not the denial of pain, but the recognition that pain is not the whole story. It is the deep knowing that within every difficulty, there is still beauty, that within every ending there is the seed of beginning, that within every loss there remains something to cherish. Joy is not fragile. It does not crumble in the face of hardship. It is strong, resilient, unshaken, because it is grounded in the eternal presence of God within you. Most people live as though joy is a rare visitor that comes only when invited by perfect circumstances. But joy is always waiting, always present, always available. The door is unlocked, and the only requirement is your decision to open it. The mind will argue, insisting that you cannot choose joy until everything is better, until everything is resolved. But that is the trap, the endless postponement that keeps you asleep. Joy must be chosen now in the middle of what is, without delay. If you can begin to see joy as your natural state, rather than a fleeting visitor, everything changes. You no longer chase after conditions to make you happy. You no longer believe that your worth is measured by what you have or do not have. Instead, you recognize that joy is the radiance of your true self, the light of God shining through you, and that it requires no justification. It is not waiting to be earned. It is waiting to be allowed. The outer world reflects your inner decree. What you hold within yourself becomes the shape of the world you encounter, for life has no choice but to mirror back to you the convictions you secretly accept as true. Many believe they are passive observers of reality, victims of chance, subject to the rise and fall of circumstances beyond their control. Yet the deeper truth is that the world you walk through is continually responding to the state of your inner being, arranging itself to match the atmosphere of your thoughts, the tone of your feelings, the images of your imagination. If within you there is a decree of lack, then everywhere you turn, evidence of lack will seem to surround you. If within you there is a decree of abundance, then abundance will begin to appear in places you never expected. The outer is not separate from the inner. It is the expression of the inner. The thoughts you rehearse, the emotions you dwell upon, the assumptions you cling to, they are the silent architects of your reality. Consider how often people live in unconscious decrees. They rise in the morning and declare without words, "This will be a difficult day," and their experience bends to confirm it. They assume people will be unkind, and unkindness finds them. They believe nothing ever changes, and life echoes back stagnation. These are not accidents, nor are they punishments. They are reflections, faithfully returning to you the content of your inner decree. Life has always been impartial. It does not choose for you. It simply mirrors what you have chosen within yourself. To grasp this is to understand the immense power entrusted to you. You are not powerless, though you may have believed so. You are not at the mercy of chance, though the world may insist you are. You carry within yourself the seed of every possibility, and the decree you make determines which seed shall bloom. When you decide to call yourself blessed, you begin to notice blessings. When you decide to call yourself lacking, you begin to notice emptiness. The decree sets the pattern, and the outer faithfully reproduces it. This is why the discipline of thought is so essential. To allow the mind to wander in despair, fear, and resentment is to set in motion decrees that life will echo back in form. But to train the mind to dwell in faith, gratitude, and vision is to establish decrees that call forth goodness. Every image you hold with conviction becomes a command to reality. Every feeling you nurture becomes a signal to which the world must respond. You are never without influence, never without power, because the decree is always being spoken within you. It is not enough to merely wish for change. Wishing still implies lack. The decree must be firm, spoken inwardly with authority, and assumed as present. When you carry yourself as though the blessing has already arrived, when you feel within as though the good is already yours, the outer cannot help but conform. It may not unfold in the way the mind expects, but it will arrive because the decree within has summoned it. People often ask how long they must wait for results, but waiting is itself a decree. To declare that you are waiting is to affirm that what you desire is absent. Better to live now in the awareness that what you have decreed is true, and to walk in that awareness until life reveals its reflection. The outer has no choice but to bend to the inner decree, for that is the law woven into the fabric of existence. Declare the day blessed and walk in it. From the first moment your eyes open, you hold within yourself the power to set the tone for everything that follows. Each day arrives as a blank canvas, and your declaration is the brushstroke that gives it meaning. If you rise in the morning and immediately begin to rehearse worry, fear, or complaint, then your declaration has already gone forth, and the day will bend itself to echo those words. But if you rise and declare within yourself, this is a day of blessing, this is a day of joy, this is a day of abundance, then the world will begin to mirror that decree. The outer must reflect the inner, and the inner decree you choose in the morning can shape the entire rhythm of your experience. To declare the day blessed is not to deny challenges or to pretend that difficulties do not exist. It is to decide that regardless of appearances, the underlying truth of this day is goodness. The essence of this day is divine favor. When you call it blessed, you are not waiting for evidence to justify the declaration. You are giving it its meaning from the beginning, and in doing so, you open yourself to perceive blessings where others would see only burdens. The declaration is not a reaction, it is an act of creation. Every word you speak inwardly carries weight, for words are not empty. They are creative forces, carriers of intention, vibrations that set reality into motion. The careless habit of speech is often the reason why people feel trapped in cycles they cannot escape. To constantly declare frustration, lack, or disappointment is to bind the day to those outcomes. To consciously declare blessing, abundance, and joy is to unlock new possibilities. When you declare the day blessed, you are sowing seeds in the soil of time, and the harvest will appear as the hours unfold. The walk that follows your declaration is just as important as the words themselves, for a declaration that is not embodied becomes a hollow ritual. If you declare the day blessed, but then walk as though you are cursed, doubting your own words, you cancel the decree before it can take root. But if you rise and declare blessing, and then carry yourself with the quiet confidence that blessing is already present, you align your inner world with your outer actions, and the two begin to harmonize. Every step you take becomes a testimony to your decree. Every conversation becomes an extension of your inner word. Every moment becomes an opportunity to notice how the blessing has revealed itself. It is not necessary to see immediate proof in order to walk in your declaration. The proof is often hidden until your eyes are trained to perceive it. What was once overlooked as ordinary begins to shine with significance when you have declared the day blessed. A simple kindness from a stranger, the unfolding of small conveniences, the sudden sense of peace in a quiet moment. These are confirmations of what you have already spoken, and the more you recognize them, the more they multiply. Blessing expands where it is acknowledged. To walk in your declaration is to adopt an attitude of expectancy. It is to rise above the tendency to complain, to resist the urge to predict failure, and instead to look for the good with an open heart. Expectancy does not mean clinging to specific outcomes. It means knowing that goodness will reveal itself in ways both seen and unseen. It is the posture of faith that says, I have declared this day blessed, and therefore it is so. That expectancy becomes the lens through which you interpret every experience. Even what once appeared as interruption or inconvenience can reveal itself as part of the blessing when viewed through the eyes of faith. When you make the practice of declaring the day blessed a daily rhythm, your entire relationship with time changes. Days no longer feel like obstacles to endure, but opportunities to receive. The sense of rushing, striving, or dragging yourself through hours begins to dissolve. In its place arises a quiet assurance that each day carries within it more than enough for you. Each day becomes a gift waiting to be opened, and you become the one who has the authority to unwrap it with your words and your walk.